Hello guys, this is Pavel Skorob from Laravel Daily Team and YouTube channel Laravel Business, and this is one of those videos which I call From My Car, where I talk about something not directly related to Laravel, but more about web dev business, productivity, and business stuff. And today I want to talk about takeover projects. So should you take over someone else's projects, and why, and what are the problems with that? So in the last 5 years, we've taken quite a lot as a team or as freelancer myself. We've taken quite a lot of projects where a client approached me via email or LinkedIn or Twitter and said, look, we have a project which is like 50% done, but we don't have a developer anymore. Could you help us finish? And that is fine. I'm a helpful person. I want to help everyone basically, and I do agree. But I noticed a pattern that these projects which are started by someone else and not finished are kind of red flag because they weren't really profitable or finished successfully, typically. And I'm trying to find the pattern, and I think I found it. So these are my thoughts about these projects. First thing, if a client tells you that it's 50% done or 70% done or whatever is the number, it's usually wrong number. It's overestimated. In reality, even if it's 50% of the project of the original scope, it takes you additional time to understand the scope, the project, understand the code, then fix something that you notice immediately, like bugs or something, change some fundamental structure in like database migrations, or update Laravel version if it's legacy code, set up the deployment process, all of that, which is not even directly related to features, to creating new stuff. So just to take over, it takes time. So usually, even from that, it gives more than some percentage of work. And then it's red flag from another angle. So if there was a developer or developer team who created the beginning of the project, the question is, why are they gone? And usually none of the reasons are good for you as a person who takes over. So if the developer was fired, then probably the code quality is pretty bad, and then you take over the shitty code basically. If the developer has run away themselves and just gone, missing in action, so to speak, then probably the problem is on the client side. So too low budget, because if there was a great budget, then no developers would run away, or it was vague specification, or client is also missing and not providing feedback, or specification is kind of too unrealistic, or whatever is the reason on the client side, it's also kind of bad for you. You don't want to take over that client. And final, probably the most important thing is the budget. So how clients calculate the budget. For example, if I have $10,000 for a project, and I think I've created half of that, so 50%, and I've spent $5,000, I assume that the rest of 50%, would cost also $5,000, so the rest of the money, and I don't want to pay extra and don't need to pay extra. In reality, as I said, for a new developer, it takes more than 50%, and also that 50% is overrated. In reality, it's more things left. So developers don't want to pay extra for you to basically redo the project, or do a step back for specification, for analyzing the details, and stuff like that. So usually it's not profitable because the budget is kind of left over from what's left after previous developer. So these are my thoughts why these takeover projects are quite a red flag. Or at least in my case, I still haven't found, well, we do have one successful case of that, where we took over one of the project, but then we had a chance to redo the project from scratch with the budget that was bigger than initial. So the only case, the only scenario where it does make sense to take over the project is where the client does have the budget for you to start the project from scratch. So you just kind of delete the version 1 or version 0.1, start from scratch with new thoughts, with your own decisions, architecture, consultancy for the client, maybe even changing the scope of the project, specification. But then it's kind of a new project, then it doesn't make sense. It's not really a takeover then it's new stuff. But if it's takeover after like half of the project is done, It's usually a pain in the neck to avoid the swear words, and I would advise you to avoid such projects for your own sake, and also for the client. If you are a client and you have half of the project created, probably rethink the strategy and maybe rethink it as a new project, or with less scope, less functions, and then try to deliver something from scratch with the budget that you have, or raise more money to have bigger budget. Then, only then, success may come. I guess that's it. These are my kind of random thoughts about takeover projects. It was quite a pain for us, except for those cases where the budget was for creating a new project from scratch. Do you agree or disagree? Comment in the video below and subscribe to the channel to get new videos about Laravel or about business. See you guys in other videos.